Okay, so are you ready to get a little dark today?
Yeah, bring on the darkness.
All right, then, let's dive in. Buckle up for this one. We are heading straight into Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. So we've got a collection of excerpts, mostly from Nick Dunn's point of view. He's our main guy, caught up in his wife, Amy's disappearance.
Right, right. And we also get to hear from Amy herself sometimes in her own words.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And a little sprinkle of that third-person narration to kind of set the scene.
Yeah, I love that. That gives you that outside perspective. So our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to really tear these excerpts apart, see what makes these characters tick.
You got it. We're talking Nick and Amy, their marriage, the whole mystery behind Amy going missing.
Right. And it's fiction, of course, but it gets at something so real about people, how we can be so messed up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like holding up this funhouse mirror to relationships. You see all these distorted reflections of love, identity, the stories we tell ourselves and each other, right?
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not approaching this like, hardcore true crime,
Yeah, oh, no, no.
right? More like dissecting this really well-crafted story to see what it says about us.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the fun part.
Okay, so right off the bat, we're in Nick's head, back in Missouri, after a few years in New York, living in this rental he calls new.
Mm.
But Amy comes in with this line. Should I remove my soul before I come inside? Ouch.
Oh, that's brutal, right? It's not just about the house. It's way deeper than that.
Right. It's like she's already checked out emotionally, like what happened to these two.
Yeah, you can feel that tension. Like, what baggage did they drag into this new life?
Totally. And then, flashback to their move, they open the bar with Nick's sister, Go.
Right.
And Amy, she put up a huge chunk of the cash to get it going, like 80 grand.
Whoa, that's a lot of dough.
Yeah, that flips the script on your typical money situation in a marriage.
Doesn't it? Right. And Nick, he says he's not comfortable borrowing from his wife.
Yeah. But how much of that is just posturing? And how much did relying on Amy's money mess with his ego?
Oh, I bet it did a number on him. It's like this unspoken power dynamic. Maybe he felt indebted to her or even resented her a little.
Yeah. And that could definitely eat away at a guy's confidence.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in a marriage.
And even the name, The Bar, like they're trying so hard to be all New York cool,
Mm-hmm.
but their first customer, she thinks it's named after Audrey Hepburn's cat.
That's hilarious.
That's so funny, right? Like they're trying to fit in, but they're so out of their element.
Right. Maybe it's not just the bar. Maybe it's their whole relationship that's not quite clicking.
Ooh, good point. Yeah. Like a metaphor for their lives.
Yeah, Nick's always in his head. Super self-conscious.
Hmm.
Worry about seeming fake.
Yeah.
He even uses this Liza Minnelli analogy. He's like, why so insecure, dude? What's going on in that marriage?
I think it's like he needs everyone to like him, to approve of him. Maybe he didn't get that from Amy.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
he's putting on a show all the time. Makes sense. And then there's his sister. Go, they are so close, it's almost weird.
Oh, yeah, they've got that, like, super intense sibling thing going on.
Right. The jokes, the rumors, all it's like Amy's always on the outside looking in.
Right, exactly. Like, is there room for anyone else in that relationship?
Maybe not. Maybe not. So the day Amy disappears, Nick gets that call from the neighbor, Carl, about the open door and the cat.
Uh-huh.
And his reaction is so strange, so delayed, like he's not even rushing home.
That is weird, right? Like, shouldn't he be freaking out?
You'd think, right?
Maybe he just doesn't care. Or maybe, like, deep down, he knew something was off.
But not in a good way.
No, not in a good way.
And then we get the whole Amazing Amy thing.
Oh, yeah, the books.
Right, Amy's parents wrote this wildly popular children's book series about this perfect little girl, also named Amy.
Uh-huh.
And Nick, he hates it. Like he's living in the shadow of this fictional version of his wife.
That's gotta be tough, right? Like, how do you compete with that?
Yeah, imagine the pressure on Amy, too, to live up to this perfect image.
I know, right? Like, you can never be good enough.
Totally. And their early days, the courtship, the wedding, it's all about compromise, not like fiery passion.
Yeah, more like settling.
Right, the lobster dinner versus the fancy restaurant. Like their whole relationship was built on settling.
Yeah, and that's not a great foundation.
No, not at all. So the cops show up, and Nick's first thought is, it's always the husband.
Oh, he's aware of the cliche.
Right. And he's all eager to help, but is he really being helpful, or is he just trying to control the story?
I think it's a little bit of both. He wants to look good.
Especially with his background, his dad showing up at the police station, muttering all that weird stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's creepy. Not exactly a stable family life.
Right. So maybe Nick learned to please authority figures, to be the good boy.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah. And Nick describes Amy as this driven, competitive person, so different from the chill Missouri vibe.
Right, like she's a shark in a goldfish pond.
That's a good one. So maybe she wasn't happy there. Maybe she felt stuck.
Yeah, like a square peg in a round hole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that phone call to Amy's parents, Nick's dreading it, imagining their reaction. It's like he doesn't even like them.
It does seem like he's not too keen on the in-laws.
Yeah, like maybe there's some bad blood there. And then when Nick goes to his sister, go for comfort, he just wants to be left alone, no questions, but goes worried. She's asking questions.
She's the voice of reason here.
Totally. Like she sees things more clearly than Nick does.
Right. And then we finally hear from Amy, her view on marriage dancing monkeys, horrible things women make their husbands do. That's dark.
So cynical, right? Like she's totally disillusioned.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's like she sees marriage as this power struggle, all about manipulation.
Wow. And the neighbors, they're all concerned, but you know how small towns are. The gossip starts spreading.
Oh, for sure.
Right. Beneath that surface, there's judgment, speculation.
Definitely. Everyone's got a theory.
Yeah. Yeah. And Amy's journal entry on their anniversary is so revealing. Nick leaves this drunken voicemail about getting laid off, and she feels obligated to be angry.
That's so messed up, right?
It is. It is. It's like they can't even be honest about their feelings.
Yeah, they're just going through the motions, putting on a show.
Right. And Nick, he feels like he's lost everything with the layoff, and he thinks Amy's being cold.
Yeah, like she doesn't care.
Maybe she's just dealing with it in her own way, you know?
Maybe, but they're definitely not on the same page.
No, not at all. And the whole backdrop of the Riverway Mall, Carthage being this ghost town since it closed.
Yeah, that adds to the whole feeling of things falling apart.
It does, right.
Yeah.
Like their marriage is mirroring the town's decline.
Ooh, interesting parallel.
And then the police find that note, the one with the heart on it. Gilpin thinks it's cute, a treasure hunt.
But it's so creepy in this context.
It is, right. Like,
Yeah.
this is not a normal missing person case.
No, it's like someone's playing games.
And then Nick even brings up the Amazing Amy books. Like, could there be a connection?
Yeah, and that's when we meet Hillary Handy, the obsessed fan.
Right.
She's a whole other can of worms.
Totally. And speaking of complications, Amy's parents, they're not as wealthy as they seem. They actually borrowed money from Nick and Amy.
Wow, that changes things, right?
It does. It does. It's like, who really had the motive here?
Yeah, and Mary Beth, Amy's mom, she's all over the media, organizing the search. It's almost too much, too perfect.
It is, right. Like, she's managing their image as much as she's looking for Amy.
Totally. And then Stux Buckley throws in these really dark details about the mall.
Oh, yeah. The squatters, the drug deals, even a past gang rape.
It gets scary real fast. It makes you think, what really happened to Amy?
Right. Maybe it wasn't Nick after all.
Maybe not. And then you've got Shauna Kelly trying to take a selfie with Nick.
Oh, that's so gross. So inappropriate.
It shows you how some people just want their 15 minutes of fame, even in a tragedy.
Ugh, yeah. And then we get Amy's perspective on the move again, how much she hated it, how Nick didn't help,
She felt abandoned.
and that mean satisfaction she gets when the U-Haul's not full.
Oof, that's cold.
Right. Like, she's happy to see Nick inconvenienced.
It shows how much resentment she's harboring.
Yeah, big time. And then Nick's memories of Hannibal, Missouri, his childhood, that awkward trip with Amy.
It's like they don't have any good memories together anymore.
No, they don't. Even that visor hat joke feels like a ghost from a happier time.
Yeah, it's sad.
But then, the first clue in Hannibal, Amy's anniversary note thanking Nick for his YT.
That's so calculated, right? Like she's leading him on.
Totally. This is not a random disappearance. This is a game.
A very twisted game.
Yeah, and the search at the Riverway Mall, it's so creepy. All those empty stores, the squatters, that broken gate.
It's like a symbol of their marriage, all broken and deserted.
Oh, I like that. And Amy's cuckoo clock conundrum. She's so focused on that broken clock.
She notices every little flaw, every little crack.
Yeah, it's like she can't stand anything being imperfect.
Maybe it's a metaphor for how she sees Nick, too.
Ooh, interesting. And the housewarming party. We get all these different opinions about Nick.
Yeah, some people love him, some people hate him.
Like, who is the real Nick Dunn?
It's hard to say, right?
And, of course, Rand has to bring up Desi Collins, Amy's ex.
Right. And Hillary Handy, the fan.
They're like these loose ends that keep popping up.
Yeah, you can't help but wonder if they're connected to Amy's disappearance.
Exactly. And then this tiny detail, Nick giving away his dad's stuff to Goodwill, Amy helping him, all efficient and organized.
They're so different, right?
Yeah, like Nick's sentimental, Amy's all about getting it
A
done.
recipe for disaster.
And then, bam, the second clue, the alarm going off, that creepy phone call asking for Amy's first pet's name.
Okay, that's getting intense.
Right, like whoever's doing this, they're messing with Nick's head.
Totally. And go. She's freaking out, but she can still enjoy a grilled cheese sandwich.
That's so go.
Right, like she's grounded even in this crazy situation.
Yeah. And then Nick drops the bombshell. He's having an affair with Andy.
Oh boy, here we go.
And his excuse is that Andy appreciates him. It's classic, right?
Yeah, he's blaming Amy for his own choices.
And Nick talks about how he used to be faithful, but then he wasn't happy anymore.
It's like he's trying to justify his actions.
Yeah, and the way he describes their marriage,
Yeah.
so distant, so cold.
It's sad, right?
It is. Andy's scared of getting caught, of course, so she's another problem for Nick.
Right, he's got secrets piling up on secrets.
And then we get this weird scene with Nick at the Plasma Donation Center with Maureen and her friends.
That's so random.
Is he trying to act normal? Is he trying to create an alibi? Who knows?
It's hard to tell.
Right.
And then confronts Nick about Andy.
She is furious.
And rightfully so, right?
Yeah, and the disposable phone, that clinches it for her. Nick's totally lying.
Busted. And then Nick goes to see Desi Collins, and he feels so intimidated.
Yeah, like Desi's got all the power.
Yeah, and Desi's mom, she's even worse.
She is scary. She's protecting her son,
Hmm.
but maybe she knows more than she's letting on.
Ooh, that's a good point.
And then we get Amy's journal entries about Nick's recent behavior, all these romantic things he supposedly did.
That's all a lie, right?
Right, it's part of her plan to make Nick look even worse.
It's so twisted. And then Amy finds Nick going through her files, all her financial stuff.
That confirms all her suspicions, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's after her money.
Yeah, she doesn't trust him at all. And the police, they're not messing around anymore. They request Nick to come in.
It's interrogation now.
The gloves are off. And those planes flying overhead during the interview, that's got to be stressful.
It is, right. Like, are they trying to throw Nick off his game?
Maybe Rhonda Boney, she's so sharp, she catches all of Nick's inconsistencies about the beach trip, the coffee.
She doesn't miss a thing.
Mm.
And the broken stuff at the house, the ottoman, the picture frame.
That looks bad for Nick.
It does, it does. And then the cops bring up Amy's blood phobia, how she can't even stand the sight of blood.
But there was so much blood at the crime scene.
Right. It doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't. And Boney, she's starting to sound like Amy, all that sarcastic humor.
Like she's getting inside Amy's head.
Yeah, that's scary.
And all their money problems come out, Amy's money drying up, her parents borrowing from them.
The plot thickens.
Right. Maybe the motive wasn't just about Nick.
Maybe. And then we get Amy's little quiz about a troubled marriage. Like she's analyzing her own life.
It's like she knows what's wrong, but she can't fix it.
Or maybe she doesn't want to fix it.
Maybe. And then the big fight they had about having kids. Such a fundamental disagreement.
Yeah, that can really tear a couple apart.
Totally. And the search party, everyone's falling apart, Rand's a mess, Mary Beth's popping pills.
It's a train wreck.
And then, boom, Noelle Hawthorne shows up at the vigil and announces she's pregnant with Nick's baby.
Snap. Talk about a twist.
Right.
That's got to be a publicity nightmare for Nick.
Major nightmare.
Yeah.
And then we find out that Nick and Amy got physical during an argument.
Okay, things are getting darker.
Right. It wasn't just yelling, it was violence.
And Amy, she talks about wanting to buy a gun, being afraid of Nick.
So maybe she wasn't the perfect wife everyone thought she was.
Maybe not. And Nick denies the pregnancy, of course, even though Noelle's standing right there.
He's digging himself deeper and deeper.
Yeah, why keep lying at this point?
Gara knows he's lying too. She calls him out on it.
She's the only one who can see through his BS.
And then Tanner Bolt enters the picture. The lawyer who defends all the guilty-looking guys.
The big guns have arrived.
Right.
This is getting serious.
Nick calls Tanner, freaking out, and Tanner tells him to get on a plane ASAP.
He doesn't waste any time.
And they have this weird little joke about Tanner's name.
He's trying to lighten the mood, I guess.
Yeah, but it's still a serious situation. Tanner tells Nick to track the police, make a list of all the nice things he's done for Amy.
It's all about public perception now.
And Tanner brings up Tommy O'Hara, the guy Amy accused of date rape years ago.
He's looking for anything that could help Nick, even if it means digging up Amy's past.
And Nick, he talks about why he fell for Amy in the first place. Her smarts, her intensity.
Like she was addicted to the drama.
It's like they were both playing a dangerous game.
Yeah, a game they couldn't win. And then we get Amy's perspective, her to-do list, all her plans.
She's so organized, so cold.
It's chilling. And we learn about her childhood, the miscarriages before she was born.
Like she always felt like she had to prove herself.
Yeah, that's gonna mess you up. And her definition of the cool girl, it's brutal.
It is, right. Like she's calling out all the BS women have to put up with.
And she's done with it. And all the places where Nick and Andy met, the woodshed, his dad's house, Andy's car.
Amy's using them all, turning them into clues.
It's brilliant and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah, she's framing him with his own infidelity.
Master manipulator. And when she finds out about the credit card purchases in the woodshed, she thinks Nick's done something even worse.
She can't even imagine the truth.
Right. It's like he's already guilty in everyone's eyes. And Amy's anniversary message, it's a declaration of war.
She's coming for him. And the way she compares framing Nick to Punch and Judy, it's like she sees this as a performance.
She's the director, Nick's the puppet.
Her planning is insane, the drive, the cabin, everything's in cash. She thought of everything.
She's a criminal mastermind. And her physical transformation, the dyed hair, the glasses.
She's disappearing, becoming someone else.
Reinventing herself.
Yeah.
Andy, showing up at Go's place, throws a wrench in Nick's alibi.
He's so screwed.
Yeah, and he sees Andy as a liability, not a person.
He's in survival mode. And Tanner, he figures out that the treasure hunt is a game for Amy.
He's starting to understand how she thinks.
Right. That's the key to beating her. And the second clue, another fake love poem.
She's good, I'll give her that.
So good.
Yeah.
And then we see Amy on the bus, calling herself Nancy, pretending to be a victim.
She's so good at playing the role.
And the media frenzy, Ellen Abbott's show, everyone's got an opinion.
It's a circus.
And everyone's against Nick, Stux, Noelle, Amy's parents.
They're all condemning him in the court of public opinion.
Mary Beth freaks out about Tanner Bolt, saying he only defends guilty people.
She's not helping Nick's case at all.
And her outburst on TV, that's got to be the final nail in his coffin.
Yeah, that's a bad look. And then Nick goes to talk to Tommy O'Hara, the guy Amy accused of date rape.
And we get this whole other side of Amy, someone who might lie to get what she wants.
It makes you question everything you thought you knew about her.
Totally. And Amy, she's bored at the cabin, she's running out of money.
The honeymoon phase of her escape is over.
And she's manipulating those people she met, Greta and Jeff.
Like she does with everyone.
And she's watching Ellen Abbott's show, seeing how everyone believes her story.
It's all going according to plan, for now.
But the stakes are getting higher. And that detail about Jeff smashing the fish's heads.
It's disturbing, right? Like a hint of violence.
Yeah, foreshadowing, maybe.
Yeah.
And Nick, he tracks down Hillary Handy, Amy's stalker fan.
She's not exactly a reliable source, but she might have some piece of the puzzle.
And Tanner's investigating, too. But Nick's still fantasizing about finding Amy in some luxurious hideaway.
He's in denial, big time. He needs a reality check.
Yeah, he does. And that nice lady at the store, she recognizes Nick, but she's not judging him.
A little bit of kindness can go a long way, especially when you're public enemy number one.
Right. And Amy, she's getting paranoid about Greta and Jeff, so she takes off.
She always has a backup plan.
Nick makes his public plea at the end of the treasure hunt, and people respond positively.
Tanner's a good lawyer.
But Tanner knows it's not over. Public opinion can change in a heartbeat.
He's not letting his guard down. And Nick's feeling confident, but Go's still worried.
She knows Amy better than anyone. And Tanner, he comes up with this crazy idea to get Nick on Sharon Sheber's show.
That's a risky move.
Huge risk, huge reward. And the whole scene at Tanner's penthouse, the media, the prep for the interview.
It's like they're staging a play.
Tanner's wife, Betsy, she's coaching Nick, even makes him wear pearls.
It's all about image, creating the right narrative.
And the interview starts off well, but then Sharon Sheber gets some news off camera, and it's like a switch flips.
Uh-oh. Something's wrong.
Big time.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Amy's calling Desi from a casino, demanding money.
She's running out of options.
She's desperate, and she almost gets caught by that stranger.
It's getting risky for her.
Yeah, she can't hide forever, and she's got her sights set on Desi's lake house, another safe haven.
She's using him.
And the police, they confront Nick with the woodshed evidence, the credit card receipts.
Busted!
And they read Amy's last diary entry, all these loving words. But Nick knows it's fake.
He knows her game. Amy keeps playing the victim with Desi at the lake house.
Poor Desi, he's totally falling for it.
Yeah, he's clueless. And Nick, he's so lost, he just wants Amy back, but for all the wrong reasons.
And Amy, she thinks he wants her back so he can finally be the husband she deserves.
They're both delusional.
And her realization that they fit together like a thorn bush and stab wounds. It's so twisted.
It's not love, it's toxicity. And she decides to go back to Nick.
I can't believe she actually went back.
It's crazy, right? Nick's furious about the diary, about the woodshed. He and Go are fighting.
It's all falling apart. And Amy's return, it's all staged. The shower scene, the tears.
She's a master manipulator. The police show up at the lake house and they immediately suspect Desi.
Amy's plan worked.
For now. And she tells the cops this elaborate story about Desi kidnapping her, forcing her to write those diary entries.
It's all lies. But who's going to believe Nick?
He's got no credibility. Go doesn't believe Amy either. She tells Boney what she thinks.
But Boney knows it's hard to prove anything, especially with public opinion on Amy's side.
Yeah, how do you fight against a good story even if it's a lie?
Right.
And Amy's final diary entry before she went back, it lays out her whole plan, the poison, everything.
She's cold-blooded. But she does say that something feels wrong.
Like a tiny bit of guilt, maybe?
Maybe. And then we see that Tannerbolt's still using Nick's case as an example for his other clients.
This case is going to be in the textbooks.
And the Dunns, they do this big TV interview, all smiles, the perfect family.
But it's all an act.
And Nick, he says this creepy thing at the end, like he's still under Amy's thumb.
I have chills.
And then that little excerpt from Dark Places about Libby Day, it's like a reminder that Gillian Flynn loves to write about messed up people.
Yeah, she's got a knack for the dark stuff.
So there you have it, the twisted world of Nick and Amy Dunn. They're both unreliable narrators. They both lie and manipulate.
It's like a hall of mirrors. You never know what's real.
But hopefully we've uncovered some of the truth about their motivations, the toxic games they played.
Yeah, and the power of storytelling, how a good lie can fool almost everyone.
So, for our final thought today, think about the stories we tell ourselves and each other, the ones we choose to believe.
And the ones we refuse to see.
What truths are we hiding? What lies are we clinging to?
Sometimes the most dangerous stories are the ones we tell ourselves.
That's a great point. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Gone Girl. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah, this one's going to stick with me for a while.
Me too, me too.